Hey, I'm here to talk about the very first Rocky film. I have reviewed this in the past, but the whole video got deleted by YouTube because of music I used. And so I figured, why not do the entire series over again? So come with me, will you? I'm about to take a road trip and talk about Rocky. Rocky 1 is by far my favorite movie of all time. The series of Rocky, which spawned 6 additional Rockies, so a total of 7, plus Creed, is by far my favorite series. Regardless of what I feel like every individual movie, the whole series to me is the best series of all time. So I am happy to be discussing Rocky with you. I got a couple of tidbits here. Basically, the film was made on a budget just over $1 million. So this had no budget, pretty much. It earned $225 million in global box office receipts. And this is back in 1976. So it did wonderful at the box office, especially compared to how much, the budget was for. In fact, they were so low budget that they actually had to use family members. You had Frank Stallone play a small part here, which is Sylvester Stallone's brother. You also had their father, which is Frank Stallone Sr., and you see him ringing the bell at the final fight. So that's a pretty small budget. In fact, Rocky's dog Butkus was actually Sylvester Stallone's actual dog in real life at the time, and they just utilized him in the film, which they did a great job with that, by the way. Okay, let's go over the cast members, and again, they were awesome cast members, but we'll go ahead and cover them. Sylvester Stallone plays Rocky Balboa, also known as the Italian Stallion, and I gotta tell you that Sylvester Stallone does amazing work in this very first one. We'll see what happens, throughout the series, but in the very first film, he did outstanding, and I cannot think of anybody else that could play the part. Talia Shire played Adrian Penino, and that is Rocky's love interest that we meet in this film. And Talia does great work in this film as far as Adrian is concerned, because Adrian is a character who's very shy, and Talia Shire, she just fits that perfectly, and she got it right. Burt Young plays Paulie Penino, which is Rocky's friend and also Adrian's brother. And I gotta tell you, Burt Young, it's hard to, there's not much to talk about on these cast members because they were wonderful. Burt Young plays Paulie perfect. He is a drunk, he is jealous, and Burt Young played that perfect in here. Carl Weathers plays Apollo Creed, who is Rocky's opponent, and he's also the heavyweight champion of the world. Carl Weathers, again, did outstanding on this. Not much to talk about, but yeah, he did great. Burgess Meredith played Mickey Goldmill, who is Rocky's manager and trainer. And by far, this guy did great. Mickey he's old, he's cranky, he gets upset, and Burgess played this character perfect. I couldn't, again, just like all those other 5, these top 5, I couldn't think of anybody else to play the parts, honestly. And lastly, there's a couple other parts in here, but I'll go ahead and Joe Spinell plays Tony Gazzo. Tony Gazzo is a loan shark and Rocky's employer. So let's get right into the plot of this movie, and it's an interesting plot, and it starts off right off the bat. It's 1975. Rocky Balboa, he's a hard-living but definitely a failing boxer. He lives in the old South Philly. It's an Italian neighborhood. And then between fights, he works as an enforcer for loan shark Tony Gazzo. But in the very beginning, you're brought right into the very first fight that we see. It's against Spider Rico. I thought this scene was outstanding. Rocky defeats him. And then you see afterwards they're sitting there and he gets paid like $40 or something like that when he won this fight. So he's basically he's fighting for peanuts pretty much. So you know that he's struggling, and you get the vibe in this whole scene. In fact, this whole movie, you feel that vibe. I think they did a great job. And watching this today, you really get that vibe that Rocky is struggling with his life. So he's also, again, he works for Tony Gazzo. And you see that in the very beginning. You see how he is collecting money from this one guy, and he's told that if the guy does not collect money, that you will break his thumb, and that is the repercussion for not paying Tony Gazzo back. And you see Rocky approach this guy. He looks like he means business in the long run, though he doesn't break his thumb. So when he goes back to Tony in his car, Tony gives Rocky his cut, and then he takes him out to the side of the street and tells him, next time you will break his thumb because he says so. And Tony Gazzo is definitely a mean guy, and you can definitely feel in his character, and the guy did a great job acting as him. You also see how struggling he is when he goes to his apartment. It's definitely the slums of Philadelphia. You can just tell he's a lonely guy. He looks into a mirror. He sees pictures of himself and his parents, and there's no audio in this part, but you just feel his pain and what he's struggled with in his life. And again, I found this scene to be great. So he also, at this time, he goes to visit Adrian. This is the first time we meet Adrian. She works at a pet shop, and Rocky goes over there to buy some turtle food. And he's met her before, but it's all just chit-chat at this point. And I thought that was really cool. So basically, Apollo Creed announces that he's going to hold a match in Philadelphia for the upcoming bicentennial. And 5 weeks prior to the fight, his opponent, Mackley Green, he is actually unable to compete due to a hand injury. So you see Creed going through books of possible opponents, and none of them are available. And so he decided, you know what? Let's give an unknown a chance. And that unknown is Rocky. So Rocky pretty much gets a phone call. Actually, no, he goes to Miles Juergens' office, and he assumes that Creed is looking for local sparring partners. But it turns out that Rocky actually he agrees to the match, which pays him $150,000. So after several weeks of training by himself, and he pretty much uses whatever he can to work out. He actually goes into the meat locker where Paulie works, and he actually boxes the meat. And I love this scene, honestly. It's so innocent, and what he's sacrificing himself to box these things. He's breaking the bones, and his knuckles are I don't even know how to say it, honestly, but it's a great scene the way it is. Then there's a scene where Rocky is up in his apartment and Mickey shows up. And throughout this entire film, you notice that Mickey doesn't give Rocky a chance at anything. In fact, he actually took away his locker, which he's had for 6 years. He took it away for somebody else. And then all of a sudden, Rocky gets this information that he's going to fight. And there's Mickey up there at his apartment discussing his history as being a boxer, and that he never had a manager or a coach, and that he recommends, hey, go ahead and hire me as your coach. Of course, Rocky at the time was frustrated, and everything that he had been frustrated about in the last 6 years of working for the guy, he actually yelled at him. I mean, this scene is probably my favorite scene out of this entire movie. And then Mickey leaves, and it only took a few seconds, but Rocky realized he made a mistake. He didn't mean it. So he ran after him and told him that he accepts him being the manager. So I thought that was pretty cool. The scene was, again, was my favorite. At the same time as this, Rocky begins a relationship with Adrian. He actually took her out on Thanksgiving and took her ice skating. And again, this was a very innocent scene. And again, another wonderful scene of many scenes in this film. And he's just, they spend 10 minutes in this ice skating rink, and he is really discussing why he's a boxer. She's discussing why she's shy, and he took her home, and that's where they kissed for the first time. Of course, all this is happening. Paulie, who again is alcoholic, becomes very jealous of Rocky's success, and also of Rocky dating his sister. And Paulie, he becomes very abusive. He takes a bat and is like threatening Rocky and Adrian as well. And so basically, after kind of calming him down, he promises that, hey, Paulie, I'm going to promote your meat factory on the back of my shirt. Are you gonna, calm down? We'll make you a couple bucks. So just calm down. So after that, Paulie actually left him alone when it comes to that kind of stuff. I thought that was really cool how they did that. So basically, the night prior to the match, Rocky couldn't sleep, and he took a walk over to the arena. He went inside, and you can just feel his emotion. Honestly, he's never boxed in a ring like this. I mean, the spectrum is huge, and he just, out of all of this, he notices that his shorts are the opposite colors. That's all he cares about. He goes home, and he lays back in bed and realizes and tells Adrian that he's got no shot. Why even box this guy? There's no way he can beat him. But turns out he doesn't give up. This guy, if anything, Rocky never gives up. So basically, at the very beginning of the match, Creed is making a very dramatic entrance. He's dressed up as George Washington and Uncle Sam. And he has flag color shorts. And Rocky comes out afterward, or I think it was right before, dressed in baggy outfit. It's very cheap. In the first round, actually, Rocky knocks him down, which is the first time ever he actually knocks him down. That nobody else has ever knocked down that champion. Of course, Creed doesn't take that too easily, and he fights him harder than ever. So they go the whole 15 rounds. So basically, Rocky lasted the entire fight. Nobody had ever done that either. So, unfortunately, during the fight, Rocky suffered a broken nose. He'd never broke his nose before, but he broke his nose, and his one of his eyes had so much trauma around it that he was pretty much blind. He was close to being blind because of this. And at the same time, Creed sustained brutal blows to his ribs, broke a couple of ribs because of Rocky. And at the end of it, the only thing that they say to each other is, there is not going to be another rematch. We're not going to have another rematch. Well, we see what happens in part 2, honestly. But I think this was created as a one film, and that was going to be it. They didn't think there was going to be this much success. So all Rocky can think of is, where's Adrian? And it shows Adrian running towards the ring. And at the same time, you're hearing in the background that Apollo Creed actually won the fight. But you know what? Rocky didn't care. He went the 15 rounds. He's got the love of his life. That's all he needed. Honestly, though, in the first time I watched this as a young kid, I was upset because, of course, we want Rocky to win. But ultimately, he did win. He got the girl that he loved again, and he proved a point that he is a good boxer. And it ends on them hugging at the end, and there's a freeze frame. And that's the end of the film. All right. Well, again, this is my favorite movie of all time. So obviously, I got to give it a 10 out of 10. It's a wonderful film. Highly recommended. It's a must watch. If you're going to watch any movie out of this entire series, the first one is a must. So I totally recommend it. And I would be shocked if I found anybody that had never watched it. I'd be highly shocked. All right. Hopefully you guys like this one. Hopefully you'll be back for part 2 shortly. If you can, please click the subscribe button, which if you click this button right here, you can subscribe. Also, I will put a couple of links to other videos. So go ahead and click one of these videos right here, and you will be able to get to them. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.